So then what happens then is, unfortunately, you see these events that maybe are catered specifically for a certain demographic, whether it's a female or maybe a minority driven type of event, and everybody just shows up because everybody's in need of jobs, and a lot of these layoffs has affected a lot of people.
All right, so something interesting, and this might be a little bit polemical. Are you familiar with the Women's Grace Hopper Conference? It usually
Haven't heard of
happens,
it.
no?
Mm-mm.
So there is some events, and I have attended some of them here in Houston and in other areas. And usually it's for recruiting. You're trying to recruit people, right? So in this case, and they're very good because they're almost students finishing out college or university, and they come from all over the place. And last time that I did it, it was very good in my opinion because it gives an opportunity to the companies. In that time, I was in Twitter. I was working for Twitter, and our booth was kind of small compared to other ones. I mean, compared to the Amazon or compared to the I don't know, Tesla. Those were pretty big booths,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of lines of people, right? So that one it was an opportunity for the companies, at least for Twitter, for us to be able to start recruiting, getting resumes, and a lot of people. Sometimes you can see the importance of the brands, right? Like there were people like literally like long line, like they were be waiting. I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes just to talk to you. So and yeah, when they start talking, they start asking, hey, what type of roles do you have? How is to work in that company? Like questions, very open questions, right? One thing that I start doing, by the way, is that I start looking the resumes, and I notice a pattern where they suck. so if you are actually building your resume, try to get a template. But remember also, and I know that it's hard. Like I mentioned it in previous episode where you have to start somewhere. And when you're building your resume, what you're trying to do is to explain how you're going to add value to that company, right? Some stuff, and I know that you're a student, maybe you haven't working what you're supposed to be. It's okay. Maybe just show the traits, show the experience. I was asking, hey, maybe did you help a teacher, or maybe did you did a project in your school? List those. Those are the ones that I want to know, at least for tech. I want to know if you knew any specific language or any specific technology, and literally spell out a narrative. What was complex about it? How did you overcame that, right? And if you were able to finish it. I spent a good amount of time in the resumes, and I was just like crossing, right? Oh, this is so helpful. You're so helpful, Mando. Like, can I reach out to you on LinkedIn? Sure, whatever. But yeah, that's what the event is about.
Okay, so it's kind of like a job fair. It's like speed dating for people looking for jobs, basically.
Basically,
Yeah.
it is a job fair, right? And
Mhm.
here is the why actually it was on the news a couple of weeks ago. This year was in Orlando, in Florida, and what it made it the news is because it's supposed to be for women, and there were basically some men trying to get a jobs. Man, what's your take there?
Well, that's pretty interesting. So is Grace Hopper typically just for women, like
Hmm.
normally?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I thought it was open to anybody. Well, so that's pretty interesting. Like, if this is specifically for like a women's conference, and which it's made to, I suppose, advance,
Hmm.
women in tech, science, things like that. And there's a bunch of, was it like an organized
It
attack?
is it
Like
is
not
always,
attack,
yeah.
or is it? No, no, no. I mean by the men that showed up. Did the men kind of collude to all go together, or was it just like
It's
a
just
lot of men
happened. The
ended up
look,
show up?
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it was not organized. That it's just the demand just happened to be right. I can tell you, I have been in tech for many years, and usually I have seen the ratio growing. right? And that's what you want. You want a diverse team, and there's always goodness on having a diverse team. And in my team, at least for the female portion, diversity is not only about females; it's about different. You go to gender, color, all of that, right? So just to be able to have different perspectives. But at least for the female portion on the ratio, I noticed that sometimes it would be very low, like many years ago, and also it was because they were not studying engineering, right? But now that more females are studying engineering, and they're getting into the field, I have seen it growing, which is awesome in my opinion. Um, uh, I saw it between 5%, 10%, and in Twitter was the first time in my career that I saw almost a 50-50 ratio. It is pretty high. I don't think that that's kind of the norm. Usually was a ratio more of a uh, kind of the average on the industry, at least as I know, is about 15-20% ratio between men to females. So these type of events, it's an outlet for females and women to be able to get an opportunity. So from my perspective, look, I get it. You have to find a job. I just feel attacky, man. It's like, come on. There's so many other events, so many other job fairs, right? Like, I don't know. I really think that is empathy, right? I think that that's what maybe is lacking, but I get it. I think that also they might not be doing it uh, with malas, right? I think that is just maybe they need to find a job too, right? So, but yeah, that was the reason why I made it the news.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I mean, yeah, at first thought, I'm like, wow, there's a group that organized to get together to kind of disrupt this thing. But I hope that's not really the case. Yeah, but I get it. Right now, it's really tough. Right now, um, it's difficult to find jobs for a lot of people. I know in tech specifically, there's been a lot of layoffs recently. So, uh,
I I,
I could see why that would happen.
I found a nice infographic. Um, it reported about 220,000 people got laid off, and from all companies, from your Google, like they call it FANG. And the reason why they
Mhm.
call it FANG is because they used to be the initials of the names of the companies. In that time, it was Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. Now you can debate that it could be Manga, which is also Microsoft there, right? So, or Meta as well, right? So, which because they rename the names, right, for these companies. But yeah, usually in tech, or techies, that's the other way that they call us techies. That's how, and usually are very well paid jobs, right? So, and they started from those. I mean, everybody heard the news on Twitter that basically Elon managed out a lot of the people. So, uh, but then it started rolling out to all of the different companies, right? Sometimes these CEOs they set trends. Sometimes they might be good, and sometimes they might be bad, right? And I think that also the recession that they say that we're in recession or recession, it might actually play a little bit onto that.
Yeah, I think a lot of these companies they've got to prepare. They can't get caught off guard, so they try
Mm,
to stay ahead of the curve essentially, so that they don't get um, they don't get in the red where they're paying too much for the employees and those overhead type costs, so that you know they can weather the storm of that recession. So
yeah.
that's something that can happen. But so then what happens then is unfortunately you see these events that maybe are catered specifically for a certain demographic, whether it's a female or maybe a minority driven type of event, and everybody just shows up because everybody's in need of jobs, and a lot of these layoffs has affected a lot of people. Now, in tech, though, I don't know. A lot of people may not have as much empathy because their people were getting paid $500,000 a year, right? And they should be able to weather a little bit of time off. I think a little bit more than the normal person. So you gotta understand also that these people, if they've had a job for a few years, they should have a couple $1 million already in the bank anyways. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I mean, if they save up and all of that, but I know many that they didn't because they, and that's a mistake, right? Like people when they start making more money, no, doesn't matter how much money you're making. If you are living outside of your means, you're still gonna be poor, right? It doesn't matter if you are making 1 billion a year. If you are spending 1.5 billion, guess what? You're in debt.
yeah, Elon was bought Twitter for how many billion? 44 billion.
44. I'm
44 billion.
sorry. Yeah, and now is you know how much is worth?
Half
Uh,
that probably, right?
no less though. It's
Oh
8 billion.
no.
So yes, he lost a bunch of money. So happens to everyone, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. You just buy bigger toys at that point,
Yeah,
I
it's just
suppose.
bigger companies and all that. But yeah, yeah.
Well, it's unfortunate that this happened at this Grace Hopper conference. Like Mondo said, I think yeah, it's a little bit um tacky of this happening, but you gotta eat. You gotta eat. You tend to do what you have to do just to make sure you make ends meet. So yeah, pretty interesting though. I think though, I don't know what do you see the outlook right now for tech jobs and things like that, Mondo?
I think that I have saying this, but I'll repeat it again. You have to go into AI. It's even not utilizing, even if you're not doing or advancing the those algorithms and all of that, you still have to learn how to use the tools. We mentioned a chat GPT, but if you are a techie, you have to learn about LLMs, right? That's kind of the lingo on things, right, for the algorithms. And you have to learn maybe even to use some of the tooling like Copilot. Copilot is kind of like a little helper on when you are coding. Imagine like your Word document that you are literally putting sentences and all of that. And the copilot, the AI is watching and is trying to autocomplete. Like when you are auto-completing in Google and if you think that is Google is thinking what you actually want to say, well, imagine for programmers, it's truly helping and it's giving you a blocks of content. And it's quite amazing in my mind. Like, oh, wow, they can see all of your code and they can rematch it. So I think that that's kind of the a crucial point right now for techies and for everyone in general because these are great tools.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can speak to it from the developer's point of view, right? You need to learn how to use these tools to help your development works or work cycle or workflows. But even for non-developers, people that are interested in using the technology, right? You might be an engineer that wants to see if you can apply some of those things to the things that you're doing, your workflows and things like that, or just a creative person that's creating content. You need to learn how to use like the mid journeys and the dollies and things like that of the world. You need to be able to understand how to do that, know how to use ChatGPT. These are all those tools are freely available for you just to go out and try out. This week, just for fun, I've had the Stable Diffusion loaded up
Mhm.
on my computer right for a while now, and I'm like, I haven't used it for a while. But back in the day, I had early on when you couldn't run these models on your own computers, I used the Google Collab to run it on the cloud, right? And I had created a model with my face on there.
Sure.
So I trained the model with my face, and I brought down the that checkpoint file and I loaded up into SDXL on my own PC, and I started running it and coming up with new avatars. So at work, I've been putting it up on my as my avatars. I was like, Eric, is that you? You lost some weight, huh? I'm like, yeah. Don't ask me to turn my camera on though.
That's
But
cool.
it's just even just to practice using the tools, getting familiar with
Hmm.
them, knowing what they do, what all the different words mean, how they fit together. You can do those things to keep up with the technology.